Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.
Directors meeting. I have my mask on, but since we're distant enough, I'm going to pull it down so I can talk and be clear. As always, I want to make sure we go through the agenda real quick to make sure that everything is down here and in the order in which we would like to proceed for tonight. As a reminder, always our goals and things to keep in mind at the top of the sheet. We need to read them and keep in mind what they mean to us in terms of our school board, our school district. Today, Wednesday, September the 21st, at 6 o'clock, we started our meeting by presence, preferred, and by Zoom if not. That we have section, the first item, public comments. The second item, finance. We have consent agenda items. We have policy items, superintendent's report, administrative reports, committee reports, chair reports, and FYI. Are there any other items that need to be included on the agenda or moved in any order from what I just mentioned them before we proceed? Hearing none is a yes. Okay, as a confirmation, affirmative. So, with that, the agenda package, all the information was on the, those that we received electronically, just click on the word, the agenda, and the package was there, and you was able to scroll through and see all the items. And to the public, the reason we're able to go in an expedition or speedy manner here at this board meeting is because all our board members and administrators have done their work so that we can come publicly together to be able to inform the public of our progress on this meeting tonight without having to bore them in a long awaited school board meeting. So there may be questions and there may not be questions because we've already read them and understood what they are. So with that, I would like to ask for public comments. If there are any public comments in the room or online. I'm looking in, I see none and I hear none. So that's good. The next item is on the agenda tonight is finance. And under finance, it has the treasurer's report from August the 31st, Dave Durfee, and it required action to accept that. So can I hear a motion? It's been moved. That's good. Under the new Robert rules with small boards, we don't have to have a second. You could if you want to, but we don't have to have it. It's been moved, and all the call the question for anyone have any comments concerning the treasurer's report from Dave Durfee? Oh, all in favor? Aye. Raise your hand for those online. And Jackie said we have to have a voice for the ones that are on Zoom. So Stephanie, I saw your hand say yes. And Jackie, I can't hear your dog and neither can I hear you. So are you ready to vote? What happened to her?
It says that she's still here.
She's there. Now she's muted.
I've asked her to, I sent her a message to unmute.
I'm unmuted.
Okay, so we were doing the treasurer's report. Yay or nay? Okay,
Say again, please.
treasurer's report by voice.
Oh, yes.
Okay, All right, all in, we all unanimously passed the treasurer, no extensions and no nays. Thank you, I'll get this together sooner or later. There, item B, Vermont Community Health Equity Grant, $4,000, Mount Anthony Ag.
I have the information on that, Chair. This grant was sought by Liz Strassman, the MAU Middle School Sustainability Teacher. It has been awarded by the Vermont Community Health Equity Partnership, administered through the Bennington County Regional Commission. The funds need to be expended by May 31st, 2023, and we used to purchase, plant, and support 6 fruit trees near the middle school hoop house in a permaculture style orchard. The administration is supportive of this endeavor, and it was presented to the Ag Land Committee earlier this month. Asking the board to accept the grant.
Thank you.
I need a motion to approve the grant.
It's been moved to accept the grant. Fran made a second anyway. Any other discussions? I do want to point out, we have a new chair for the Ag Committee. That would be Wendy Marie. Will be the attend those meetings to represent us on that. No comments. All in favor? Press aye.
Aye.
Aye. You hear Jackie again?
Aye.
Okay, ayes. Any nays? No. And any abstaining? The unanimous vote. Well, thank you, Jim, for bringing that, because I was looking for that one. The consent agenda. On the consent agenda, we have minutes from 8/31/22. We have warrants, 305 and 306, and we have the general payroll warrant. And leave of absence, we didn't have one listed on here for that. And the resignations, we have one movement on here, but not really leaving districts. And then we have some nominations. Just to make a comment on here, this is an accounting thing. The general fund and payroll warrants, and this is just a logistics thing. I read all those pages 3 through 23 with my head turned to the side because I couldn't orient the page. Okay, so I need to get somebody to fix that with the finance committee meeting, you guys, and make sure you talk about how the data is being presented, because we're supposed to read all those things, and I did, but it wasn't fun. It wasn't easy to do it.
Maybe
So-
turn your laptop like this.
It was my computer the whole time. So with that, we have a motion to, are there any other comments about anything else on the consent agenda? None. I have one more comment, just that gets clarification. We have 2 nominations for security officers, both being replaced, but they both do this under the same job. I didn't realize that we had 2 doing the same, I guess, the same job. One for Vic is moving on, and we have Sean, and you got Ben. They took other people's place, but I didn't realize they had the same title. Is what I didn't understand. And they have security officer as a title.
Yeah. So to start the school year, let me back up. Last year, security team was Vic Lonnie and Steve Sleeman. Steve has stepped away and pursue other opportunities. Vic is moving on to a district level support position. So replacing both of those. Both those positions will have the same title because they work closely under associate principal, and that would be Jeremy Neal. So that there's not a superior or a direct report with that relationship to the same positions.
Okay, so that's that.
It's not an increase of position.
No, it's not an increase. It's just that they both have the same title. I just wanted, and it was just odd that they both will be right there and both have, and I'm saying one is at night and one's at days, but they both are right there. This is a question that I addressed. I think it was well dressed and to be the part that he played there. We're going to have, I noticed, I read the resumes for that in terms of uniform dress in the school environment for these officers. Are they going to be just one kid dressed as a police officer because he's not one? And the other one, are we going to dress that way, or are you going to dress down to be within our culture, our environment, like Victor did?
So, the dress code is, professional, so staff is khakis, polo on most days. It's not a
police type uniform.
no, it is not.
Oh, that's what I wanted to make sure of, because I really wanted to make sure that we kept that within the school type of environment.
Yes.
What you just mentioned.
There's not a police style uniform.
Okay, thank you. With that, that's all the comments I have for the consent agenda. Dave, you have, or you just put your glasses on? Are there any other comments concerning the consent agenda? If not, we're ready to vote for the consent agenda as provided by the superintendent, and those things, but those comments, information provided to us. All in favor? Here, sign aye. Online, I see Stephanie, yes. Jackie, yes. Meet the requirement. It is unanimous on the consent agenda. We have two policies attached tonight with someone else here. They're non-discriminatory mascot and school bannering. And we have 5300 54, section 504 ADA, grievance protocol for students. I don't think anyone.
I understand the policy, we're sending them on to the SVSU. The 1019.
Yeah, 1019 is non-discriminatory mascot and school bannering or branding, or whatever we want to call it, bannering.
Yeah.
What that basically did now is the district to provide a welcome and positive incentive learning environment for all students by prohibiting the use of discriminatory school bannering, which undermines the educational experience of members of in all the communities. And I don't think we have any of those, but this is a new required policy, and we are in full agreement from the committee that this should be part of the school awareness when it comes to perpetrating negative stereotyping in the school district. So all in favor of this policy, raise your hand. Here.
Aye.
On
Aye.
Zoom, ayes for Jackie and aye for Stephanie. Okay, thank you. We have it unanimous decision there. The next one is the section brand 504 and ADA grievance protocol for students. And basically, you want me to do it? You want
Go ahead, it doesn't matter.
This is another required policy coming down to us. The district does not allow discrimination on the basis of disability. And that's what this policy speaks to. It speaks to the sections in the laws that represent this, section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act of 1973 and the amendment of American Disability Act of 1990, and section 504 of the AD prohibits discrimination on the basis of disability and any program activities receiving federal finance assistance. Okay, and so it goes further to be able to say to the people that are in, that feel that they have been provided. I mean, we are trying to provide assurance to everyone that we are strictly prohibiting any form of retaliation against any person who utilizes this protocol. And the part of the protocol is they are to report within their supervision, if they like, that someone is being discriminated against under this particular policy, or if they don't feel comfortable that way, it lists the person is not required to use the protocol and may instead file a complaint directly with the U.S. Department of Education Office for Civil Rights, Office of Civil Rights in Boston, Massachusetts office, and it lists the address there. So this policy goes a step to tell you that school districts that we're not going to have any discrimination against AD 80 and 504. And if you have a problem with that, then those the individuals under this policy can complain directly if we're not following the guideline. And I don't think that's the case. We're trying to do everything we can to be in compliance. Any other comments concerning this policy? No. All in favor of the policy, just ayes here.
Aye.
Aye.
Ayes. And with all the ayes, the board members, there is no nays and no extensions. Thank you. This the public record here. The next item that brings us to the superintendent's report.
Good evening. This evening, my report is going to be given by Assistant Superintendent Barbara Duro and Director of Curriculum Instruction Assessment Melissa Semple. And I also want to say that Director of Finance Renee Gordon gave me the warrants and asked, I sent it to everyone here present to sign. We actually have them here. Turn it over, yield to.
Actually, no, I'm just gonna set this here, if that's okay. You share my screen. Just a moment.
While I do that, I want to pass this to Wendy. This is what I read the grant was for. And it's the minutes from their last meeting.
I have them.
Oh, now we have.
Yeah, but I
Do
have
you
the
want
grant.
the particulars of the grant?
I have the grant.
Oh, she had it.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't, the minutes didn't show up. I didn't
Elizabeth,
see
yeah,
you. There.
Elizabeth sent it to me.
Okay, because I didn't see you listed as being.
I was looking.
Okay.
I think we need to keep those.
Yes.
Okay, just a minute here. We're getting set up.
Yeah, I read that.
Here we go.
Okay.
I got it.
We okay, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. So thanks for having us tonight, and we are doing this in partnership with Principal Chip Ting and Principal Mr. Chris McGuire. Our work together as a partnership, and so as you remember from last, I think we started in the fall, we still are under the umbrella of recovery from the pandemic. It was a state required plan, and a piece of that is to report out on the 3 pillars of recovery. Pillar 1 is social, emotional health and wellness. Pillar 2 is student engagement. And pillar 3 is academic achievement. One of the reasons that we waited until now is that the state data, which we're going to go into tonight, wasn't released until late May. And we still needed time to, as an administrative team and school level teams, review that data. So the presentation we're going to give you has many different pieces, and if you could just hold your questions until the end, and then we'd be happy to share with you. So we always want to start with our acronyms. You'll hear us say ESSER, Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief. MTSS is Multi-Tiered Systems of Support. CIP is Continuous Improvement Plan. SBAC is Smarter Balanced Assessment Consortium. We'd like to remind you that you can always find the recovery link on our website, www.sdsu.org. And right on the home page, there's a recovery tab, and the district's recovery plan is located there with a feedback button. Tonight, because we're focused on academic achievement, we'd also like to highlight that on our website, under the curriculum link, there is a proficiency-based learning tab for families, so you can learn more about the standards that we teach to. I'm gonna turn this over because before we jump into the data, we want to remind you of what our continuous improvement plan goals are at each site. I'd also like to highlight that in the SBSU, you have a district level continuous improvement plan, and then each school builds their plan off of that. They are 3-year plans that will expire this year, which means we'll be reviewing data again to adjust. So at this point, Mr. McGuire, would you like to share your CIP goals?
Yeah. So as Laura said, thank you. And as Laura said, these goals are 3-year goals, 2020 to 2023. Excuse me. So we'll be reviewing the goals and rewriting goals for our next plan. But right now, the middle school, Mount Anthony Middle School, has 2 goals in the area of English language arts, ELA, and one of them focuses on one of them focuses on closing the gap between historically marginalized students and historically privileged students. So, it speaks to, equity for all students and having access for all students. Goal number 2 is a focus on improving reading scores as evidenced in the MAP test. That's measures of academic progress. That's a test that we take 2 times a year at the middle school in both mathematics and reading. And the goal is to have a growth increase of 2 to 5% on the maths reading test, which that seems kind of like a small number, 2 to 5%. But I want to point out that 2% equals 1 year of growth. So it is actually not a small order goal. And goal 3 focuses on safe and healthy schools. So it speaks to the social, emotional, and behavioral, learning of students. And what we're looking for there is a decrease in problematic behaviors of 5%. So that is the safe and healthy schools goal.
Yeah. Mr. Payne, what's your high school goal?
So in some ways, we share similar goals to the middle school. We too have an ELA goal, but we also have a math and science goal. So there's 3 goals for the high school. Similar to what Chris talked about, we give the map. We give the map in the 9th grade at the high school. We try to give it at the beginning of a semester, ending of a semester, because many of our students take their courses and semesters. Although this year we're experimenting with 9th graders taking a full year of English and a full year of math, so hopefully that'll help us out as well. So the MAP score, we're looking for growth in both ELA and mathematics of 2 to 5%. And as Chris said, 2% is what, this is a nationally given assessment. What the data folks tell you is a 2% growth is a good 1 year effective teaching. So anything above 2 is, outstanding work on the part of the teachers. And then we also are measured at the state level with a science test. And our goal is to match the state average in the science test. So,
Thank you. So now we're gonna take you, and if you have a hard copy in a packet in front of you, you're actually gonna flip to the annual snapshot section. I'm gonna also do the same thing on the screen. So this is my part, and this is the first time that I get to present to the board about the AOE's annual snapshot. And because it's new, I felt as though I should give some background. This is all public information, and it's available for you if you ever wanted to have the website directly, because sometimes finding the website can be a little tricky. Just let us know, and we'll make sure that we get that to you. But those should be updated soon. What you're going to be seeing are what Laura said, it was released last May, and it's from 2020 to 2021. And I think it's important to have the caveat, I might say it a couple of times because I think it's really, really important, that this was the year of returning to school after the previous March of shutting down.
So this is in the midst of the pandemic that our teachers and students and families are having these kinds of results. So what is the snapshot? The annual snapshot is part of this holistic approach to assessing performance focused on continuous improvement. Hence why Laura and Tim and Chris told you about our continuous improvement goals. We want to make sure that we have that holistic approach. What kinds of things do they measure? Because I think it's important for you to know it's not just as it was back in the day, ELA and math. It is much more comprehensive and holistic. They are giving you an annual snapshot for how our schools are doing through academic performance, personalization, high quality staffing, safe and healthy schools, and investment priorities, pardon me. So how are they measuring all of this? Again, I want to focus where they're getting that data from. I want to focus just on that academic proficiency because that's most of what tonight is. And where they got the results from the ELA is from the SBAC. Where I'm showing you the results from the mathematics is also from the SBAC. There is a science test that is based on next generation science standards that the state has. You will notice when I get to the point for physical education that particular year, due to the pandemic issues, was waived by the state. So we're waiting to see when it's going to be coming back. So here are some of our results from that particular year in comparison with the rest of Vermont. And our MAU students are approaching, I can stop for a second to say there are 4 different scale categories. So there's not meeting, there's progressing, there's meeting, and then there's exceeding. So in English language arts, MAU students are approaching, and they're close again to the meeting with that particular number given and set by the state. In mathematics, both Vermont and MAU are at not meeting, which also coincides with the rest of the nation for how things were going during virtual learning for learning conceptual mathematics was difficult for any student. Science, we are approaching for that particular test. Progress towards English proficiency, those are students that are our English language learners or multilingual students. And at MAU, they're meeting, They are meeting, which is great. And our graduation rate is also meeting. And you can see that note that you don't see physical education assessment because it was canceled by the state during this time. On the next page, you'll notice that I also wanted to give you our safe and healthy schools in comparison to Vermont. Mount Anthony schools are exceeding their performance in that area. And I also gave you the question of how they're measuring. How well do our schools provide environments where students feel healthy, safe, and supported in achieving their goals? So I want to take a moment to just pause and say we're exceeding performance. And the last one, I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to do that, is personalization. And again, because kudos to all of the people that put the work into this, and our students are meeting that, which is excellent. We also, you heard both of our principals talk about how we also measure is by our MAPS testing and the growth rates. You might have noticed that both of them referenced that 2% is what we would want from any student for a year's worth of growth. And you can see that from fall of that year to spring of that year in grade 6, if you look at the spring scores in particular, we exceeded a year's worth of growth for the students. For 7th grade, we did the same, and 8th grade and 9th grade. So by the time they came back in, I want to point out, if you go back to 1 second, I'll be quick, I'm so sorry. Samantha's going to be like, move it on. But I just want to point out that if you look at grade 8, which is below 2%, please understand that those kids were coming back from, again, several months of having that pandemic time from March until they got them back. So the fact that our teachers in 8th grade took them from there to a year's worth of growth in 1 year is pretty awesome. Thank you.
Just clarify, Melissa, that
Sure.
it's increasingly challenging to meet the growth rate of 2 point as you get older kids, right?
Correct. Yes.
So
It
good
is.
job to the middle school.
Absolutely. And high school, absolutely. So why didn't you see any longitudinal reporting? It's because the state is asking us to please don't do this at this time. They're not putting it on their site because they believe, as I gave you, this is directly from them. Given all the conditions of test administration, we have to have the challenges for interpreting those results in the terms of growth and trends. So we should not be doing this when doing the state assessments. That's it, other than, again, the snapshot is a little different than what we used to look at for how results and how we're doing in schools. And this is directly from the AOE. What the snapshot is not intended to do is to rank schools or compare them to each other, to blame or shame schools, to define accountability only as the only assessment goal, or to fully represent any school system. Again, I stopped to say they're taking a very holistic approach at how our schools are doing.
So the last thing that we want to share, if you go to the back side of the first page, if you have a hard copy on the screen, I've got it up on the screen. We want to highlight because after we look at data at the school level teams then make determinations about how we're going to address instruction. And what you'll notice, because we're focused on academic achievement, that we have a curriculum housed on our website that our teachers built for English language arts, for math, science, and social studies. At the middle school, you can get a sense of the different resources that are used to provide instruction. I also, because budget season is coming, I want you to be aware of the funding source for the tools that we use. So for example, at the middle school, My Perspectives is a primary resource, and that's something that we locally fund out of our curriculum budget when we need to get materials for students. You can follow the thread across. You can see in the last column under science that we're using ESSER money. We have a grant investment in ESSER as a result of some science teachers at the middle school that did some great advocating last spring, and with a partnership with a community partner. And so we are looking forward to offering robotics at the middle school as a result of that work. At the high school, again, you can follow across. You can see that there's locally developed resources for instruction. That's where you'll also see the advanced placement opportunities as well. You can see that there's resources listed in there as well that are funded with some of our grant funding. And then we've also listed all the tools that we use to assess, because we don't just use one resource or tool to measure. We have a bank so we can get a well-rounded picture. It's also important to make sure that we're continuing to provide professional learning for our teachers and evidence-based practices. And you can see just a list here of different things that are offered, are available for teachers at different levels. Some are human beings funded through our title grants. And then there are other resources that we've been able to fund using our ESSER money, which is great. And you'll notice at the bottom of the list, the inclusionary practices and instructional strategies. And so, Tim and Chris, do you want to add anything about any of these?
The only thing that I'd like to say is the CAS professional learning, we had our first meeting today, and I will just do a brief highlight about that in my principal's report. It's really, I'm really excited about this professional learning opportunity that both Tim and I are participating in along with our teachers.
And that's an example again, and I should have put that on there, that CAST, I should have ESSER next to that. That is a ESSER funded activity. So to kind of bring you back to the beginning, our goal tonight was to give you some updates around Pillar 3 of recovery, which is academic achievement, and to share some assessment data that was released by the state last May. And Chris and Tim and Melissa and I are here right now if you have any questions for us.
I have a question.
The chair will recognize Jackie Kelly.
What happens when the ESSER funds leave?
Jackie, that is a great question. So part of the purpose of ESSER funding was to allow us to fund opportunities a need based on our district recovery plan, which is what we're required to build as an outcome of the pandemic. And so ESSER funds are attached to investments. And so again, we're learning about the resources we've secured through that grant. And so those are conversations that we're going to need to have during budget seasons as well. Some of them, like some of the resources we've been able to acquire, now we have them. So that was the good, that's a good news. So robotics would be a great example. A big piece of the robotics is, I never knew what was involved in purchasing Legos for robotics. I know a lot about that right now. And so we're making sure that we're getting enough of the resources to support the instruction. What will be the ongoing cost of robotics will be the professional learning needed. So you can see there'll be a give and take. There'll be things that we can get through the grant that hopefully we won't need for some time. And then there'll be things that we'll need to consider on a more rotating basis.
I just think it's a wonderful, what you've done this last year has been absolutely wonderful. The success that the students have had is unbelievable for me, looking at those scores. And so I was worried that if the ESSER funds disappear, what would happen? And certainly the inclusion of robotics is wonderful. Also, am I using wonderful too much? But I'm involved in a robotics a group also, but it is not Lego, it's the next step up. And I hope that perhaps the high school will take it on next year.
Well, thank you, Jackie. We'll have you send that on to the education committee to be part of that. I'm looking, as we talk and I'm looking for things for the education committee to be picking up out of this, because that's what we should be doing, is understanding all of these things. I'll listen to see, does anyone else have any more questions here for the presenters? If not, I wanted to go back. I had a part time. I want to get page numbers because I was flipping pages and years that I didn't know where we were working. But anyway, educational quality standards sheet in there for domain. I'm looking and I'm trying to understand this, and I just wanted to get that clear too. It says we got Vermont and we got Mount Anthony on here. And if I go down to one, it says progress toward English proficiency. And it says for this Vermont is less than 1.89, not meeting. Then we go to the same, I'm looking for the same metrics. It says 3.40 meeting for Mount Anthony. How do you know which way you're going? They're reporting not meeting, and we're reporting meetings. And so I'm trying to understand, but this don't have to answer the question now, but what we're going to be doing is things like that is the education committee group can look at it and try to get an understanding for, so we can be clear and concise in what we're doing. So we'll be passing some things on. I appreciate you sharing this with us. And we want to do the right thing. We also want to be looking at these things, says, as Jackie mentioned, for funds. We want to make sure you're getting what you need to be getting to get these jobs done. Because, we are strong believers. We don't want to see any kids left behind. And we want the program picking us up. And so a lot of activity that they'll be asking is, what about all of those that are not meeting it? What do we need to be doing? Because we said we're going to be doing all of this tutoring and counseling and so forth and getting all the special money, and we should be overflowing them with and so forth. So they'll be asking questions and things along that. That's all I would like to bring forward at this time for this. And thank you. Does anyone else have any questions or comments? No?
I have just one more comment. I know personally, yeah, go ahead.
We have time for you to have one more comment.
One more comment. I know personally that it takes almost 3 years to improve reading and language. And math is a little bit faster. So what you have done is more than most schools can do. And I congratulate you.
Thank you, and like I said, we'll be having some things go through education so they can understand it in a little bit more details along that line. Next time. Okay, well, thank you. Let's see here, the next thing, this deal on the superintendent's report.
That concludes it.
For the administrator's report. That concludes the superintendent's report, and I have to ask, does anyone else have any questions for the superintendent before we let it go? Online, no questions, and in presence, no questions. Okay, thank you. Yeah, okay, okay. Administrative reports. I heard a few from a little bit of you. This time we'll go as listed high school. Mr. Payne, Tim Payne, Burnsville High School.
All right. I'll keep it short. I apologize for the scratchy throat. It was a busy weekend and that we cheered for soccer, the James tournament on Thursday. We cheered for football on Friday. We cheered for soccer again on Saturday night. Not all the contests went in the direction that we wanted, but they were all, I thought, one, I was impressed by the staff and the student athletes who were participating. And two, I was really impressed with the student section. They were positive, they were responsible. The celebration on Saturday, I thought they did a nice job. The first win of John James in 5 years. So congratulations to Coach Malloy and his staff. But like I said, I want to give equal congratulations to the students and the fans. I thought we did a good job. As the banner described, Saturday evening's contest a bit chippy. There was some behavior there that was noted in the paper as well, but I was happy to see that our side did a nice job representing us. Two things for future planners. Tomorrow, the high school will be hosting its first open house in a couple of years. We didn't have an in-person open house last year. So it'll be from 6 o'clock to 8 p.m. We have a Title I meeting at 5:30 before that for parents who are interested. And then we'll be meeting in the blue seats at 6, very briefly, 5-10 minutes, and then folks get a chance to go out and visit with teachers and classrooms. Students and parents are invited to that. Next week is Spirit Week. So this is an annual school celebration. We have themes by the day for dress up, culminating on Friday with a pep rally, which we got to experience last year. It was a lot of fun. Kids did a really nice job. Homecoming game that evening. I believe our opponent is U32 for the football game. So I encourage folks to go to that. It should be a lot of fun. And then, of course, there will be a homecoming dance. It will be at the high school. It will be on Saturday the 1st. It'll be from 7 to 10. So we're meeting with classes this month or this week. We're making it a practice this year to have class meetings by the month. It's an opportunity to kind of revisit expectations, do a little planning, share a little information. And so far the students have been doing a really nice job of that. So we continue to improve that. My voice is fading, so it's time to stop.
Okay, thank you, Tim. Does anyone, board members or present have any questions for Tim? Would anyone on Zoom have any questions for Tim? I don't see any. So what you need to be doing is making sure that if you have any educational questions or finance questions or management type of questions, you can get those so that we can get those in the right place. Thank you. Yeah.
Sure.
Chris. Go on, Bill School.
Thank you. So yeah, I'll start off with talking about our open house. We had our open house last week. As Tim said, it was the first one we were able to have in a few years, so it was pretty exciting. I was really impressed with the turnout, and I anticipated a bit of a turnout, but I didn't anticipate the turnout that we had. Mrs. Seneca and Mrs. Boudreaux were chuckling because I won't give an exact number for our turnout last year for the title meeting, but because we did hold a virtual title meeting last year, but I had 100 participants for the Title I meeting that I held prior, or we held, Mrs. Seneca was helping me prior to the open house. And then
Last year, that time we made a lot of time to talk about your hunting career.
yeah, we had some time, it was, we were sitting around and on Zoom, and maybe it wasn't the best format. But then we had, I'm estimating 250 people attend the open house. We put out 250 chairs, and they were all full. So I was really thrilled about that. I want to thank the teachers, the administrators that were present, counselors, all the staff. It's a long night. And a lot of them, live an hour away, some of them. And so a lot of them are not traveling home on open house night, and the night ended at 8:30. So I just really appreciate the support, and it was very well attended by staff, and professionals as well. So it was very positive. I want to do a little plug for math testing. I just tell you guys that we are doing the math testing that we spoke about in the previous presentation from Laura and Melissa. We have our testing dates for September. We're going to be doing our tests on September 27th and September 29th. So that's the reading and mathematics tests that we spoke about prior. And I thank the data team that I work with in the school for helping me work and look at the testing window and determine the testing dates. And they put so much thought into when the most optimal time will be to test students, days a week, other distractions during the day. They put so much time and thought into making sure that we get an accurate reading for these tests. So I really appreciate them for that. I'll say a little bit about the CAST, professional learning that we're participating in, again, that we referenced in the previous meeting. CAST is a nonprofit organization that focuses on professional learning for UDL, also known as Universal Design for Learning. It's giving access to all students in lesson planning. I think it helps us a lot with our inclusion charge that we're working towards including all students throughout the school day. And I don't think this is the only answer for inclusion, but I think it's a big part of the answer. And it was we have a large group of teachers that are joining Tim and I and some other administrators, Dawn Campbell, Jen Austin, Kelsey, myself. And I think we have 15 teachers from the middle school and a similar number from the high school. So it's well attended. It's the first cohort. It's a cohort model. So by the end of year 3 in this commitment, everybody in both schools will have gone through this professional learning experience. And I thought it was very positive and a very good opening meeting. So that was exciting. And then I'll end with this. I do still have 5 open positions in the middle school. I am still looking for a 6th grade math teacher, 7th grade math teacher, an 8th grade math teacher, a 7th grade science teacher, and a reading specialist / literacy coach. Been working really hard, with HR and with others, Mr. Colkeen, Mrs. Boudreau, and I appreciate everyone's support in trying to work through this hiring crisis that we're in right now. But they're
Which is also impacting the high school.
yeah, oh, absolutely. And Tim and I, talk about that, and I also appreciate some creative problem solving that we're trying to, talk through to help each other with the support of Laura and others. So I'm telling you this because, keep us in mind. And if there are, if there's anybody that anyone knows, that would like to, or would be good for, talking to us about these positions, we'd be more than happy to have conversations. Yeah, so I'll stop right there.
I'll pop in with what there's 3 science openings at the high school, 2 math openings, 2 custodian openings, an academic mentor, 3 math teacher openings at the middle school, 1 science teacher, and the land steward position is also open.
Yep.
And that's not counting the SVSU vacancies that are in those buildings, such as literacy coach at Mount Union Middle School, and there are paraprofessional positions that are also unfilled. From the SU perspective, our elementary schools are in a better position right now as far as filled teaching positions than what the principals of your middle school and high school are filling. And they've done an incredible job to make their schools open and operate along with their staff, who've been asked to step up and do even more until we can get these positions filled. And it's a statewide problem. It is a national problem that for some reason it shouldn't surprise anyone that math and science positions are difficult to fill. There are so many other job opportunities for people with those skills.
Well, thank you, Yeah.
And Jim, I appreciate you pointing out the work that the other teachers in the buildings have been doing to pick up the slack because, helping with planning, helping with grading, when you're filling positions temporarily with a substitute or something like that, you need that extra support. So thank you for pointing that
Yeah,
out.
we, as administrators, we would not be able to do it without staff, the high school, middle school, that have stepped up to the hour.
So, I want to thank you too for having to work as hard as you possibly can to get those positions filled with people and how you're working in the school to try to make sure you get all the students covered and on track for learning. And don't forget about the teachers. Take time to make sure you say thankful to them and that you may walk in the room with a pack of donuts or some cookies or some candy or something to show your appreciation for them as they try to struggle to make ends meet for us. I'm just thinking out of the box. I want to make sure.
Assistant Superintendent Laboratory and no donuts, it violates the wellness policy.
Yeah, apples, bananas.
I saw her face behind you, and I just had to take the opportunity to say that.
I don't want to violate any policies, but I do want us to think outside of the box and try to show some appreciation and find ways to make the teachers and the administrators and feel comfortable in trying to achieve something that we didn't have any control on when we, as a result of the pandemic, have an effect upon kids, the students and staff and all this. So we got to just think out of the box, and then the board is here to try to help with support to make sure these things happen. And so we want to make sure we remind the public that we are in need of teachers and other professionals within the school district. And so if you have one outside that you want to have moved in with you to stay and spend some time here, and they qualify as an acceptable individual to be employed in the district, we'll be more than happy to have you do that. With that, we're going to go into committee's report. And so I'll start with who wants to go first? I'll ask that with
Policy.
policy. Fran?
Yeah. The other day we had a policy meeting. We went over the equity policy. It's number 5510. And that is school districts committed to success of every student, regardless of race, ethnicity, religion, family, economics, class, geography, ability, language, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity, or initial proficiencies. That's policy number 5510. There was a comment on footnotes at the bottom of the policy on the same page. So we went over transgender and gender non-conforming students. That's number 5520. Tim Payne gave a small synopsis of it's a reach out to the schools K through 12. They will take a case-by-case basis, and it's the agency to follow the Agency of Education guidelines for protection of all students, and talk about the locker rooms don't have to change. Wear different clothing for that day. We're going to have a gym day. We also had policy number 1019. It's the draft non-discriminatory mascots and school branding policy. That's going to be sent to the SVSU. And the next one, the policy number 5300, the section 504 and 88 to grievance protocol for students, and send that to the SVSU also. And we went over the tracking sheet, what policies we have. And other future considerations going to be the Title I Parent Involvement Compact, number 5010, number 5050, discipline of pupils, suspension and expulsion of pupils. Number 5085, search and seizure. Number 5087, threats and disruption of school operations. And number 5405, behavioral intervention for future consideration.
Well, thank you.
That's
Again,
all I got.
that was just great. Thank you. Who wants to know? Wendy is our new ag land chair because we had I finally got Corey Rich was in the chair for that, and he has indicated that he's no longer wanting to serve on the Mount Anthony School Board. And so he's supposed to be sending after talking with him, he said he was going to send a letter to indicate that he would be resigning from his board. And so I asked Wendy to fill in as the chair to represent us here at the Ag and Food.
I wasn't there at the last
And
meeting.
she wasn't there, but she's done a great job.
I was last at home working.
Yes.
But I think the superintendent did a great job in explaining what Elizabeth's prepared, and Laura Goodrow has been working so closely with Elizabeth on the projects over there. Elizabeth saw me last time with her. It's beautiful. If you ever get a chance to go take a tour of the gardens, you really should.
Well, thank you. That's two of the gardens. Okay, that's good.
It's beautiful.
The next one, we had education committee, ad hoc committee. Sheila is not here
She's
tonight.
not, I know, she's a chair.
And so the ad hoc committee, well, equally, we want everyone to know everything, whether they're here or not. So in case of somebody stopping,
Yeah.
I'm just saying that here, this is a goal in what we're trying to do. No matter what, everybody's going to know everything about the things. But I listened in, but Dave was there, and so
I think
we have
everybody
the
but
education
Stephanie was
committee.
there, yeah.
And so you can say a few words if you want to. Dave?
If we're talking the Spinelli Field,
Yes, the ad hoc committee is
first
Spinelli,
off, I think we had 6 board members there, so
but only 3 to vote. We pointed that out.
I think we're making progress. We're gonna have another meeting to try to get it all together to bring before the board October school board meeting. And Peter Janellis is, he's helped a lot. He's gonna be bringing in some folks, and I think it looks pretty positive, but I'm a little prejudiced.
Well, thank you. So, I think since the last time, that was for the ad hoc committee for education, but we did have an education committee, I think, since the last time we met.
No, we
No.
met before
Okay.
the last meeting.
Okay,
Pretty
that's
sure
right,
it
we
was
met
right
before the meeting.
before the
You're
last
right.
meeting.
Thank you. Then the next one is finance.
We're meeting on Monday.
Stephanie, the chair, is over there, and the vice chair here at the table.
Monday at 5:30.
Stephanie, can you speak to that for us while you on Zoom?
Yes, sure. I believe Amy warned today the meeting for Monday at 5:30 for the finance committee. We had some coordination challenges, I think, between the transition for the emails, the SVSU email accounts. And I intended to do it last week, but we are in motion for next week. So we'll have something to report to the board after that.
But that's great. We on the move. And so I'll have to ask the administrator, is there anything you want from us in terms of some of these committees to be looking at and thinking about? Because did I hear Jackie say something?
No,
Oh, that was the dog. Okay. I just want to make sure that we stay on top of things, and where you need something and where we should be looking at something to be some more supportive. We want to hear it, and then we want to hammer it out at the committee level and bring it forth to try to help make these things go smooth for you. So that's not, I'm one of the persons, every rock should be turned so that we can find out what's up under it and how it rose. So that's the only thing that along that line for the committee reports. Did I miss any? No, got them all, thanks. Under the chair's report, I did want to say that we are down 3 board members. Teachers are not the only ones that are missing people. We're down, we have an opening in Pownell. We have an opening in Woodford. And now, Tori was a Bennington representative. So we have an opening in Bennington. So if we need, we have someone that's interested in and wanting to work on the school board. And I want to make sure you understand, if we want to work on the school board, please have them submit a letter of confirming that they are willing to be part of the school board. We're taking and put them through the protocol with the town and with the board meeting in terms of evaluation and selection if there's more than one. So that take care of that. We're going to continue to have committee meetings. If you can't get a quorum, you can still just have a conversation to discuss the directions and where you're going to go by saying that, you know, some things with, if you call a meeting and the quorum is not there, don't just walk away from it. Have a conversation without having to be formally in session and say that you just had a chance to have a discussion, but no actions were taken because you couldn't legally take those. Okay. That's all I wanted to bring out for the chair's report. Dave has something for me on the chair's report. Yeah.
Before the Spinelli meeting, I took a tour of the weight room.
Oh, that's right.
That we have renovated. The weight room was dark, dingy, damp, and depressing. It is now bright, well organized, well ventilated, and an outstanding teaching station. We did a good job, or someone did a good job on that. I think it'll be well used, and it's a plus.
Okay. Well, I'm overdue for time, so Fran has a question.
Real quick, did he come in under budget?
I wouldn't know that. That would go to the finance committee.
Okay.
We'll talk about
No
that.
Monday.
So under the finance committee, you want to know how the money is being spent for the weight room.
First it came in under budget.
Okay.
You know,
That's
did it come over?
that's an item. Another item for you, Stephanie.
We can get that answer for you.
Yeah.
Sir?
You don't have to answer it now. if you
No,
want.
I don't have the answer now, but we can have it.
Yeah, the committee was gonna need money, so. That's the end of the things on the chair report. You have
Can I
every.
have one more, if I could? Yeah, I'll be quick. How
Fran,
about the wrestling room? We had talked about that. Is anything going on with that?
that would,
Not that I know of.
that would
I
be,
don't know.
Okay.
that was finance that took care of the
All right.
money and getting those things
You bet.
done. So you again, you're gonna go back to the finance committee and you can ask that question and talk about the money because you got a plan, a list of sheets and all those things that we had talked about getting done out there. I do know that the funds for the air conditioners on the second floor in the middle school is in the works. I heard that by the grapevine last night. So, we're moving right along. Okay, so I'm gonna.
We're gonna have a moment to go.
Once Tim left the middle school, we accelerated projects.
We've released the funds now since he's gone.
I'm all right with that. Got to what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Circle P just didn't want to get any more
I don't know,
thermostat.
I just needs to get screenshots of.
I'm gonna try to get out of here. And this budget
Well, yeah, we
status
used to
report.
meet for 4 or 5 hours, so it's, you know, a little over an hour.
I have a
Yeah.
goal and I'm gonna try to keep my goal is to manage everything in 1 hour. And so we have the FYI, which is the budget status report. And I read it and looked at it. It's 56 pages. Finance people look at that report and so forth on the outline, okay?
You read that one sideways too?
No, that was correct.
Okay, just-
That was right up. I made a note here. I didn't read it. It was straight up and I was able to go through all of
Good. I
that.
think Commissioner's did that.
So, student enrollment to be posted. I didn't look at that. I'll get that. So we'll go there for next month. Okay, so with that, we have a motion to adjourn. That's been moved and second anyway, all in favor? Aye, everybody online? See Stephanie and Jack. Okay, thank you. Next page. So we meet again.
This is fine here.
Cat TV is celebrating 30 years of community media. Help support Cat TV's next 30 years by becoming a member today. Your membership will help us continue covering meaningful, local content. Thank you for supporting your local community media station.